On the relax scene, but okay, let's start.
Right. Because we are coming back after break, and also we are also going to talk about devotional practices. So we will put our palms together and recite Namaskara together 3 times to focus our mind and also express our deep gratitude, our deep reverence to our Supreme Teacher, the Buddha. Because we are coming back after break. Namo tassa bhagavato sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato sambuddhassa. The Venerable says and other dearly devotees. So as a part of our discussion, Bhante Sadhaji asked me to discuss on devotional practices. So we had so I think maybe when our Dr. Premaratana completes his discussion, he was encouraging us more towards the practical aspect. Maybe now it's a chance for us to discuss some practical aspect of our spiritual journey. So one thing I would like to highlight today in our discussion is to to maybe clarify some misconception and to understand the important place of devotional practices in our meditation practice. Usually we tend to divide meditation and devotion, and we think that meditational practice is more advanced kind of practices and devotional practices are like more preliminary level of practices, and sometimes you don't have to practice devotional practices. So we have such a misconception, particularly in the Western countries. We think that devotion is not a part of our practice, and some scholars, when they look at Asian Buddhist communities, they even try to divide the Buddhist communities or Buddhism. They would say devotional Buddhism, and then karmic Buddhism, and the Nirvanic Buddhism. So Nirvanic Buddhism are the Buddhism followed by serious true Buddhist, and karmic Buddhism and devotional Buddhism are the Buddhism followed by misguided Buddhist. And that's the kind of impression we get when we read Western scholarship on Buddhism. And so even when we read some of the text written on meditation in English, we have that tendency to see meditation as something completely different from devotion, and even a true meditator will not have any devotional practices. So I think maybe it's a good time for us to reflect and say, really, what is the place of devotion in our spiritual practice, and particularly how devotion and meditation is connected according to the early sources and even according to the commentaries. So I have a few excerpts here from different suttas, so we can have some discussion. So it's a short one, so we can have more discussion after that. So I think first we need to understand what we call meditation. Is a translation of the original Pali term Bhavana. right? So we all know that. So this is Bhavana society, right? And we all know that Bhavana is not meditation, right? I mean, it's meditation is part of Bhavana, but the meaning of Bhavana is not only meditation, right? So meditation is only a small part of the Bhavana, which means, mental cultivation, and, cultivation of the mind, right? Cultivation of our spiritual progress. So if you really read the early suttas, when we find term bhaveti, and usually find 7 factors of enlightenment, bojjhanga, bojjhanga wedding, that is bhavana, bhaveti, satta bojjhanga. So that is the real meaning of bhavana. So it means cultivating, growing all the factors of enlightenment. Samadhi, which is usually, translated as concentration, is a part of that 7 factors of enlightenment, right? So, so therefore, that's something we all discuss. But it's not only cultivation, but also purifying the mind from mental defilements. So bhavana can have 2 aspects. One is purifying, weakening our, akusala, our unwholesome tendencies, and then increasing and enhancing, developing wholesome qualities. So in order to understand the place of devotion in meditation practice, we need to understand the broad meaning of term bhavana. So it has purifying aspect and also developing aspect. So when it comes to purifying aspect, we have a very interesting sutta, what we call Mulo Posata Sutta in the Anguttara Nikaya, where Buddha explained how we can properly purify our mind. So he is using an interesting example. If you really want to wash your clothes, wash your clothes to remove the dirt, we have to use appropriate, proper cleaning agents. If we use proper cleaning agents, good what do you call good detergent, right? If we use good detergent type, and definitely your clothes will be very clean. So, and Buddha said in the same way, and if you use proper detergent, proper technique, your mind can be purified very easily. And what is that technique? Let's read that part, Mulopasa Sutta. Cleansing the mind through proper technique, through the use of cosmetic paste, clay, and appropriate human effort. This is how the head is clean. Head is clean through proper technique. So in the same way, the defiled mind is cleansed through proper technique. And how is the defiled mind cleansed through proper technique? There's a case where the disciple of the noble ones recollects the Tathagata. Thus, indeed, the Blessed One is worthy, rightly self-awakened, consummate in knowledge and conduct, well gone, an expert with regard to the world, unexcelled as a trainer for the people fit to be tamed, the teacher of divine and human beings, awakened and blessed. As he recollects the Tathagata, his mind is cleansed, the joy arises, the defilement of his mind are abandoned. He is thus called the disciple of the noble ones, undertaking the Brahma Uposatha. He lives with the Brahma, means the Buddha. It is owing to the Brahma, the Buddha, that this mind is calmed, that joy arises, that whatever defilements there are in his mind are abandoned. This is how the defiled mind is cleansed through the proper technique. So according to this, the Buddha is explaining how we spend our day, how we spend our pause of the day in a correct manner. So here Buddha is showing us recollecting the qualities of the Buddha as a proper technique of cleaning the mind. So here we can understand how, so this recollecting the qualities of the Buddha is related to reflections and Anusati meditation, which also has the element of devotion, reverence, appreciation, gratitude. So by focusing the qualities of the Buddha, so we can purify mind very easily, just like using a proper detergent. So if we remove that part, let's say if you don't want to have devotional chanting, devotional recitation, and maybe we try to clean our mind, but maybe not using proper detergent. So according to this sutta, the best detergent to clean our mind, best cleaning agent to purify our mind is to recollect the virtues of the Buddha. We have deep reverence towards the Buddha. In the same way, in this next sutta, in the Mahanama Sutta, in Anguttara Nikaya, there are few Mahanama Suttas, but this one is in Anguttara Nikaya one. It says that at any time when a disciple of the noble ones is recollecting the Tathagata, his mind is not overcome with passion, not overcome with aversion, not overcome with delusion. His mind heads straight based on the Tathagata. And when the mind is headed straight, the disciple of noble ones gains a sense of goal, Atta Vedam, a sense of Dhamma, the Dhamma Vedam, and gains joy connected with the Dhamma. It's called. And in one who is joyful, rapture rises. And one who is rapturous, the body grows calm. And when whose body is calm, experiences ease, sukha. And in one at ease, the mind becomes concentrated. Here it shows that how the recollecting of the virtues of the Buddha can lead us to all the way to deep samadhi. But here is really important, the similar thing that, but here is that whenever we think about the Buddha, recollects on the Buddha, our passion is overcome, and our aversion is overcome. So if you really want to remove your passion, raga, the kama siddhi, or even the anger siddhi, and easy way to focus our mind on the Buddha. Right? There are other ways too, definitely, but this is given as one very effective method. I think as in our own personal life, I think you may have your own experiences, how we can combat our own raga thoughts using the image of the Buddha. I have one of my friends who's a monk. He has kept a Buddha statue in his bedroom because he thinks that when he's in bedroom is when he have a lot of raga thoughts, a lot of thoughts of sensual or sexual thoughts. So he used the statue of the Buddha. When you have the statue of the Buddha, you develop some strength to combat your raga thoughts of passion, and not to engage in any sensual or sexual activity. So he used the statue of the Buddha as a counter measure. So of course here the same idea is emphasized that whenever we think of the Buddha, there's no room in our mind for us to have passion or anger. So even having a statue and using the Buddha statue in that way, it can be very helpful. This is related to purifying our mind, right? So I remember, I did a research work in Sri Lanka on, how veneration of the Buddha was transformed, after the modern era, during the modern era. So in my interviews, one gentleman told me when he was a small child, he used to quarrel with his sisters all the time, fight with the sister all the time because he easily get angry, easily get irritated. So his father wanted to, discipline him. So whenever he had quarrel with his sisters, what the father did was actually, they have a small room in their house where they do the Buddha Vandana. So in that room is got like a stupa kamari, like small room. You only have the books, and then you have the Buddha statue and all the religious objects, and that is where they venerate the Buddha every day. So whenever he had a quarrel with his sister, his father will put him in the room and lock the room. So as a way to so he told me that whenever he's in that room, whenever he see the statue of the Buddha, his anger subside. But he didn't want to remove his anger. He wanted to keep his anger because he can come back and fight with his sisters. So therefore he told me that don't try to look at the statue of Buddha. Try to look away. Because whenever you see the statue of the Buddha, his anger will be gone. Because he wants anger, he try to not look at the statue of the Buddha. But these are the one simple examples how we can use the memory of the Buddha. right? The image of the Buddha, memory of the Buddha, and even like, understanding the different qualities of the Buddha, how these devotional practices, can really help us to purify our mind from mental defilements. So that is one. And then let's go to the next one, Parihana Sutta. So this sutta is actually, this statement is made by a deity, a devata, and then of course Buddha approved it later. So the devata says telling the Buddha, so these 6 things don't lead to decline of a mendicant, like aparihani. What are 6? Respect for the teacher, respect for the teaching, and respect for the sangha, respect for the training, respect for the diligence, and respect for hospitality. These 6 things don't lead to the decline of a mendicant. So there's also a Pali verse, Sattagaru Dhammagaru Sanghecha Tibba Garavo Apamada Garu Bhikkhu Patisantara Garavo Ababbo Parihanaya Nibbana Seva Santiki. So I found Dhammagaru here. So here we find Garava, like reverence, respect. These 6 types of reverence and respects means are practices that will help improvement of a monk's life, and that they will not decline in their spiritual practice. So including Saptagaru, there means actually reverence for the Buddha, there is Sastru, like a Sattva. So and then of course, reverence for other, the Dhamma and the Sangha, and even the, for our precepts, for Sikha. In other places we find, Sikha Garava. So for the this disciplinary code, and then here also we have Patisantara Garu. That means actually reverence to like treat others well, hospitality and treat others well. So then having appreciation and obedience to that. So these practices all related to reverential, devotional part of our life. So we can see how they are related to purifying our mind. So based on these teachings, actually the Anusati meditation is not only about recollecting the virtues of the Buddha. There are 6 other Anusati meditations too. Usually Anusati meditations are related to contemplation, recollections, and also with some devotional elements in it, particularly Buddha Anusati and other forms of meditation. But even like having that deep devotional thoughts about the Buddha can be helpful. So I think based on this, we form this practice of venerating the Buddha Vandana, right? And we have a daily practice of venerating the Buddha, and even like offering flowers and candles, all these items is also a way of expressing our reverence, our gratitude, our appreciation to the Buddha. So these practices are forms of meditations, and they're not against meditation. They're not against the training of the mind. They're actually, in fact, very effective part of training the mind. So if someone is progressing in one's meditation in proper way, he will increase his reverence. He will increase his appreciation towards the Buddha, and so the true meditator will not give up devotional practices, right? But increase, one's, expression of devotion. Now, of course, not to the extent that you will, use all your time to like, do the veneration, and you will spend more time in, self-reflection and using the mindfulness to watch one's own mind and identify one's defilements. But devotional practices would be very important, part of that spiritual path. I think this is also where the saddha plays an important role. I think yesterday you had a discussion on saddha, right? Yeah. So saddha, when we are practicing more and more meditation, initially we may have saddha in terms of trusting trust in the Buddha, trust in the teacher. But when you start to develop meditation and have some your own personal realization, and you will not lose your saddha, but you will enhance your saddha, but not in terms of trust anymore, but in terms of appreciation, in terms of valuing the qualities of the teacher, qualities of the Buddha, right? Yeah, Bhante, you talk about two types of saddha, right? One is saddhana, two characteristics of saddha, right?
Sandhana lakkana, sampasadana lakkana.
Lakkana, yeah. Saddhana lakkana, that means trusting. And then sampasadana lakkana, we have pasada, that means appreciation. So the more we understand, the more we appreciate the teacher, right? Maybe at the beginning we may not fully understand. We start the whole thing with trust, but once you understand it, and you enhance your appreciation. So saddha has this interesting two elements in it: how we initially use saddha and how we use saddha afterwards. So initially we have saddhana lakkana more, right? Trust, the element of trust first more, and the more we practice, we are moving, shifting from trust to appreciation of the teacher. Yeah. So these devotional practices are helping us, to enhance our saddha, which is part of the spiritual practice. So we know the 5 indriya dharmas, right? 5 indriya dharmas. Any person who is in the path of of training are developing the 5 indriyas: saddha, virya, sati, samadhi, panya. So saddha is a important part of these indriya dharmas that we are developing. So of course, practicing these so rituals are a part of that. I will come to that term ritual later. So based on this understanding, in the Buddhist tradition, we develop this performance of veneration of the Buddha, offering to the Buddha, and then as a part of our larger practice of developing the mind. So when we come to the period of commentaries, Pali commentaries, we find this term called Vattu Puja. Vattu Puja, that's the term that is used to refer to veneration of the Buddha. Any forms of devotional practices are called Vattu Puja in the commentaries. So here I have a quote from Papancha Sudhani, the commentary to actually not the sorry, commentary to the Majjhima Nikaya. There's a mistake there, not the actual Majjhima. Here, a certain person wishing the stopping of the cycle of samsara engages in giving gifts, observes moral precepts, performs uposatha karma, and performs Vattu Puja by offering flowers, scents, and listen to the Dhamma, preaches the Dhamma, attains the meditative states, jhana, and by doing so, he gradually attains the deathless Nibbana. This is gradual Dhamma. So in this commentary, the gradual path is explained. This is the gradual path. And then, so here we see gradual path is started with dana, and then with sila, and then, uposatha karma, and then Vattu Puja, devotional performances. And then listening to Dhamma, preaching the Dhamma, and then meditate. And then here we find like attaining the jhana, and then from there moving to insight perhaps, and then deathless, experience the deathless. So here again, during the commentary period, when they explain the gradual path, the performance of Vattu Puja is given as an important part of the gradual path. So when we come to sub-commentary period, this is like a 12th century period. Here again, we find another term that is referred to devotional practices. It's called Charita Sila. So there in the sub-commentary or Tika period, I have a paraphrasing of the praise from paraphrasing of the sentence paragraph from Lina Tapakasani, the sub-commentary to the first 4 Nikayas. Here, the Buddhist morality is defined as twofold: avoiding doing certain unwholesome actions, what we call varit sila, avoiding or refraining. And then the second one is actively performing certain wholesome action, what we call charit sila. particularly respectful and courteous behaviors. So the Dhammapala, who is the commentator, argues that performing the acts of material offerings such as scents and flowers to the Buddha is a part of active aspect of morality, that is Charita Sila. Hence, it is also part of Patipatti Puja. This is very interesting. Patipatti Puja. Usually we divide Patipatti Puja and Amisa Puja, right? So usually understand Amisa Puja is like offering, all different material items to the Buddha. And Patipatti Puja is the offering the Buddha by following our precepts, following the moral behavior and practicing meditation. So we think that offering flowers to the Buddha is Amisa Puja. But according to this sub-commentary, it says that if we have a practice of offering flowers or venerating the Buddha on a regular basis as your daily routine, it is not Amisa Puja, it is Patipatti Puja. So according to this interpretation, our daily veneration of the Buddha is not Amisa Puja, it is Patipatti Puja. So that is how it has been, valued in the sub-commentaries. And now we come to the modern period, and that is, I'm taking a quote from Bhante Gunaratana. So we have our Vandana book that we read every day. Bhante Ji, in his book on Bhavana Vandana, in his preface, he has these comments. Devotional practice and meditation are not very different from each other. This is very interesting, right? Devotional practice and meditation are not different from each other. What we experience in our meditation practice, we read and learn about in the Vandana devotional services. So I think that's a spelling mistake here. And then chanting on a regular basis each morning and evening provides an excellent opportunity to learn Dhamma. By using the words of the Buddha, we can be assured that we will be guided in the right direction. So in the preface to this, Bhavana Vandana, Bhante is saying that how our daily veneration can be a reminder, can be a reorientation, of our practice. So like the daily devotional recitations is actually providing us the guidance, making sure that we are on track and making sure that we will not, go off track and orientation. So it has such a very important role in our spiritual practice. So, and even Bhante, I'm so glad that, Bhante Ji has this statement. So this is, I'm just showing that how devotional practices can be a part of our meditation practice, part of our spiritual journey. And then starting from there. And then I just want to open for the discussion with one important comment. When we talk about attaining Sotapanna, we know that there are three fetters that are being removed, right? So we call them Sakkaya Ditthi, Vicikiccha, and Silabhata Paramasa. If you read an English translation, most of the time you find Silabhata Paramasa is translated as attachment to rites and rituals. So impression is that a Sotapanna person may not perform any ritual, any rites, and may not, do Buddha Vandana or any types of ritual. And that is the impression. And that is what, that's what in many English writings we find. So they have translated Silabhata Paramasa as attachment to rites and rituals. Of course, paramasa means attachment, grasping. Of course, grasping, attachment to anything is problematic, right? As Professor mentioned, last lecture. So grasping to anything is problematic. But how we can translate Silabhata or Sila and Vata as rites and rituals? Is Sila ritual? Or Vata is ritual? Sila does not refer to any ritual, and Vata, like different kinds of Vata, maybe observances, vows we take. That's no ritual. But then who translated this as rites and rituals? The early translators of Pali, texts were mostly has a Protestant background. You understand the Protestantism, right? So the particularly in England, and they are against Catholic religion. and so they criticize rituals, and so anyone who has some Protestant background is very against rituals because they think the ritual is meaningless. But actually, rituals are very important part of human behavior, human society. Rituals, help so many ways to people. So because of their, like their unconscious bias, maybe unconscious antagonism towards rituals, they translated Sila Bhatta as, rites and rituals. Vows, Vata means like vows that you take some vows, like to, of course, we have examples in the suttas, different kinds of vows people can take. Sila means, our moral precepts. So we can be attached to our moral precepts. We can be attached to any vows that we make. But nothing about rituals there. But that is how we have understood that term now. So I think that shows that sometimes we without knowing we bring some of our assumptions or some of our unconscious assumption into our translation. But I'm glad that Bhikkhu Bodhi has translated Sila Bhatta Paramasa not as attachment to rites and rituals, attachment to morality, moral precepts and vows, which is the correct translation. Yeah. So that's something I would like you to pay attention to. So rituals are not something bad. That whole idea, the ritual, this ridicule ritual, is coming from the Protestant background. Of course, any ritual can be useless if you perform without understanding the meaning behind it. And rituals are very useful, because that helps us to prepare our mind for anything, so because sometimes let's say if you have like a regular practice of veneration of the Buddha, and when you come in the morning, you may not feel like meditating, or maybe you may not feel like like even have a devotional performance. But when you are in that framework, when you do those activities according to that order, along the way, we generate the feelings. So the rituals are helping us to generate the wholesome feelings that we may not have at the beginning.
Fake it till you make it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I don't like the word fake. Just do it. Maybe the Nikon, just do it, and then you feel it afterwards. Even when you, for example, like if you do like recitation about loving kindness meditation or loving kindness recitation, maybe in your daily practice we have a loving kindness chanting you make. So at the beginning you don't feel like loving kind, but you just follow that structure, and then you read that structure. Along the way you feel love. So you don't wait until you feel to do it. You do it first, and then you feel it later. So rituals are helping us to do things in a way that we generate, wholesome feelings afterwards. So they can be really useful devices for us to do. So whole monastic life is full of rituals. Even our high Upasampada ceremony is a ritual. What else it is? It's a ritual. Our whole, Upasampada, our whole monastic life is based on ritual. It's not ritual, it's not something bad, as long as we do it with proper understanding. So I think we need to revise or maybe reconsider, how we value rituals. And rituals are like language. The human language is such a useful tool because human language, we can use our human language to talk about something that is not present here. Right?
If we can get like this, the people are practicing religions to develop their blind faith. But we as Buddhists, what we are practicing teachings of the Buddha to gain wisdom. So therefore, some kind of rituals we can apply to develop our mindfulness and concentration to gain wisdom. So
and as an encouragement, even before mindfulness, maybe some reverence, gratitude, those qualities, and then we will be more committed to practice. Yeah.
Not to develop our blind faith, to open our mind.
Exactly. Yeah, in order to open our mind, we have to have a committed practice.
Totally.
In order to have a committed practice, we have to have motivation.
Mhm.
For example, when waking up early in the morning here, around 4:30, you feel quite lazy, right? But when you think about, oh, Bhante Ji also come into the hall. He's coming, right? You get the energy to come here, right? You get the energy to your laziness is gone. Right? Your appreciation for Bhante Ji, your reverence for him, it encourage you to come. In the same way, if you think about the Buddha in that way, of course, so our reverence, our appreciation to the teacher, to the Buddha, encourages us to come, and then only we can, have all other experiences afterwards. Yeah.
I
So,
like to share footnotes. There are, we had some kind of students who did not follow any rituals in here, who ordained here. So then they refused to offer Buddha Puja, to participate in the Puja, devotional things, and all these things. Somehow later on, they wanted to go to thick forest, isolated place to practice just meditation.
Just meditate.
And they were thinking to attain enlightenment in this very way. That's the only thing that they have. Somehow they went to Sri Lanka. They isolated in Matale area. 1.5 years later, they got depression. They depressed. So then
Right.
both of them.
Very dry.
Yeah, both of them
Meditation without
discovered.
devotion is very dry. Yeah.
So
Then
and
they got-
they end up I'm going into lay life again.
But that
Their
represent-
practice.
Yeah. I think the Atha Vedam and Dhamma Vedam, and also the joy factor is absent there. Right? We talk about the importance of joy and pamaja, and so devotional practice can bring us, a lot of pamaja. So, okay. So, just to conclude about rituals, I was saying that, rituals are like a language. Human language can help us to talk about something which is not present here, maybe related to, collaboration, but it's helpful. So because human language is sophisticated enough to talk about something which is not present here, we can talk using our language concept. We can talk about something not present here. After we talk, and we can make things to actualize that thing. So we can talk about what you're going to do tomorrow. We can talk about rearranging this library, the most convenient way. We can talk about it in our language, and then later we can make it happen. So that's how human beings have been able to progress, because we can talk about something which is not present now, and then we can achieve that. Rituals function the same way as language, even more effective than language, because rituals allows us to not to talk about, but actually experience something which is not currently present, but creating a structure that help us to experience it. So many rituals we perform our human society are designed to experience some kind of ideal state that we don't have in our life, but in that structure we experience it. And then later we can actually work towards actualizing that. Simple example would be like graduation, or maybe even a wedding. Think about what people do in a wedding ceremony, wedding ritual, right? And they try to make it like a perfect life, which is not going to happen afterwards. But it can help you to achieve that goal. So even religious rituals are structured in a way that it can give you an ideal experience for that moment. It can give you an ideal experience. When we are in front of the statue of the Buddha, when you're prostrating in front of the statue of the Buddha, when we think about all the qualities of the Buddha, and that there you create an experience. You are as if you are in front of the real Buddha. You get an experience, right? A real experience, not something you talk about, but real experience in that moment, which may not last long. After you have done your ritual, you are back to your normal life. But daily doing that activity can recreate that experience for you. That experience can be a real motivation for us to continue our practice. So I think rituals are very useful if you do it with proper understanding.
The aesthetic value is there.
Exactly.
Aesthetic value
Aesthetic
is
value.
added, encouraging for us to get motivated
Yeah.
to the practice, etc. Just to add one.
Yeah, now it's open for discussion. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and
please.
one story I can, I mean, it's a real one. One Korean monk during the early, early 80s and early 70s, I think, there were a lot of problems in Korea. A lot of, people, had a lot of riots and riots in the universities, etc., to go against religion. So the task that one of the monks, I mean, he was not a monk at that time, a teenager, kind of young person, I mean, in the university. And he was given the task to destroy Buddha statues at that time. In 70s, it was a kind of a riot and kind of way of destroying these rituals, whatever you name. No pagodas, no Buddha statues, whatever. So he was asked to go to, certain temples and destroy the statues. So this gentleman then took the initiative and he went to the biggest, place, with the big statue. So when he went to the shrine, there was a curtain in front of the statue. So he went and just, as a young man, strong man, he just opened the curtain with the intention of destroying the statue. But what he saw was himself, because it's a mirror. Just behind the curtain, he thought that there was Buddha, but he saw himself. And it changed his mind so much that he became a monk in the same temple. And his teacher asked him he was given a koan, in Zen tradition, they get koan. His koan is to reflect on why. To reflect on why. So he began to ask himself, why did I, open the curtain? Why did I see myself there? My intention was to destroy the statue, but I had to destroy myself. So to go beyond, kind of a figure in the mind, he thought, no, I need to practice now. So he went to the chief monk and wanted to practice. So the chief monk sent him, to a meditation retreat, 3 months retreat. And after the retreat, he was asked to go to Sri Lanka to do some master's studies and PhD studies. He attended all the lectures of Professor Premaratana and whoever taught there. And he attended my classes too. And finally, he didn't want to do a PhD, but he wanted to translate all the lectures and books that he read into Korean. Now he is one of the chief monks in Seoul. And how he was motivated. It's kind of a ritual in a way, in a negative way, that he wanted to destroy statues. But later he thought, no, there is a meaning behind it. He could see himself there. He wanted to destroy himself. Can he destroy himself? Self picture that reflected there. He wanted to do. How people are motivated, I want to say, from different angles. The same way we all have these sort of, and also there is a saying, as you all are familiar with Bhante's, Vattanna paripuryanto, silanna paripuryanto. They are so interconnected. Isn't it? Is it Vattam is also something
Yes,
that you
yeah, maybe we can think about, we have different types of Vata, right? Yeah, Vata, one is Vihara.
Vihara Vata.
Yeah. But
and cleaning the premises
yeah,
and making kutis and all kinds of things and cleaning the kitchen.
yeah.
And
Can you have any discussion about, maybe, is it, I'm just arguing that, how devotion can be part of the meditation, but can we have discussion that can devotion be an obstacle in some cases?
I think it can be, Bhante, thank you, bless you for your talk. I think it can be like Bhante Sadhguru said, if you have blind faith, if you think if I do this, I'm going to get something.
Mhm.
So you depending on what you do to achieve something, which then you get greed, hatred, delusion, right?
Yeah,
So you have to have the right understanding and have
like doing rituals as a transactional manner, right? Yes, as a
Absolutely.
transaction.
absolutely, yes. Like some people will do it to get money or something, or have, fame, fortune, things like that. And then you get into a trap because the more you do, the more you want, right?
Mhm.
So it's
That's me, like maybe treating rituals like a magic, right?
exactly,
Like a magic. Yeah.
especially in like the Hindu
Different
traditions, people do that. So
Yes, Bhante Samhita, yeah.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Bhante. So my understanding is that the main reference, if we go back to the Visuddhimagga, the prolific commentator Buddha Goswami starts with Sile Patitta in Arosapano Chittam Panyancha Bhavayang. So in the first place, we have to begin with some vows and moral values on the path towards Nibbana. Otherwise, otherwise there is no stepping stone that we have to develop step by step. We have to grow gradually. So, yes, saying that in modern scholarship, Bhante, there's a scholar called David Thomas. I think you would know very well. In scholarship, there is another discipline called iconography and hagiography. So, according to him, he said, "Oh, material element is not a just material element by its very nature. There is a soul that lies behind it. And what's the soul? It is just not made of material entities or constituents. It is made of deep reverence, gratitude, or devotion to whom? Maybe the spiritual master, maybe their spiritual guide, or someone else that helped to improve his spirituality, to find the seeds of calm and peace. Then so material elements, the devotional statues are kind of handrail to be familiar with our own thoughts, feelings, and emotions. If we are really keen about be practicing the path, I think there is room for that as a beginning. That is kind of a springboard, a springboard. Two, we can start with, then we can slowly develop it. To develop it, at least we have to start at the bottom, then slowly, we clear it out to the top. But the problem arises because we just dump into the top without touching the bottom. But without touching the bottom, how to arrive in the top? That's the question.
Question, yeah.
You need a
So
parachute.
Hmm?
Sorry, you need a parachute to
Indeed.
climb into the back top.
Yes, bro, yeah, but even when you think about that, like if you only think that devotion is a springboard, so we give the impression that once we are above, we can drop it. And I mean, so let's say an enlightened master, like an Arahant. Will Arahant monk will venerate the Buddha? Of course, right?
Yeah.
So again, so it's not only springboard, actually it's an integral part of the whole practice already. Yeah. Because your saddha, sampasada and saddha will be so increased and you will simply venerate. Yeah. Yes, Bhante.
Yeah, and I have experience because one of American person visited to the temple in New York, and while our high priest was alive, and he's Buddhist, and he normally comes to the temple at least one time every month on those days in 1990s, and he doesn't respect to the monks or Buddha. And I asked, why are you not respecting the Buddha? And Buddha is no, he passed away 2,500 years ago, more than. And who cares? It's better. And Sangha, just people. No need to respect or venerate. No, just people. But I respect to the Dhamma. But now he read many articles and wrote many articles, and also he translated the Jataka stories with Hamdros. And now he putting his 5 places, Asanga Pihitwa. He respect to the Buddha and also Sangha.
As a result of understanding.
Yeah, and now when we have a whole night chanting ceremonies, he comes early and he finishes eating and drinking, sat down, and the following morning he leave from the temple and listen to the
throughout
chant.
the night.
Yes. Listen, it changed because people without the understanding, they say some words, but nothing there.
Yeah. So the more understanding, the
Yeah.
more respectful you become.
Exactly. Exactly. And
Yes,
finally,
brother.
he visited to Sri Lanka too,
True, yeah.
and India.
But
Yes,
I would
yeah.
like to talk about the Silabhata Paramasa
Yeah.
and difference of that Buddhist subject.
Yeah.
So Silabhata Paramasa is probably mean to a kind of rituals to achieve a spiritual attainment like a Kukravatya Sutta,
Yeah.
the
So, Bhante, yeah.
Purinayatanya like a
Yeah.
like a cow.
So it's a vow. It's not ritual, you know. So you make a vow to live like live a particular lifestyle. You know, you live like a dog. You live like a cow. It's not rituals. It's just like a style of life,
Yeah.
lifestyle.
So
yeah.
that's very they attach to that.
Yeah.
So that's what is the Silabhata Paramasa.
And even we attach our own Patimukha, or even our attachment can happen even to like Buddhist Sila.
Yeah. So some Buddhists attach to rituals.
Yeah.
Only rituals.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Not for practice or
Yeah,
meditation or something.
Yeah.
The
I think
same-
attachment is a problem, even to rituals. Yeah. But it's not a fetter. So that's what I want to make. I mean, I just was clarifying that attachment to moral precepts, like, like creating an identity, like, I am a vegetarian, or I am, non-violent. So you follow a precept, and you create an identity as a result of attachment. And that is something we will overcome as a fetter. Yeah, but as you say, some person may attach rituals too. Then again, it's a problem.
They organize big ceremonies.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So only
That's a
ceremonies.
problem. Yeah. That's a problem. Yeah.
So
Yes.
since going on a pilgrimage, like the Muslims, they go on the Hajj pilgrimage, that's considered very important.
Yeah.
The Catholics go to Rome. Going on a pilgrimage to the 4 holy sites, where he was born, where he died, and where he achieved Nibbana,
Yeah.
and gave the first lecture. Is that important, number one? Is that considered a ritual?
I mean, one is important, definitely it's important. It's not necessary. It's not necessary, but it's important. Because Buddha himself has said that, those things are important places where you can generate what he called pasanna chitta. How you translate, brother? Pasanna chitta.
Pleasant mindset.
Pasan is related to pasada, which means
Your
saddha.
inclination is there
Yeah.
towards
So
the
maybe,
practice.
like a purified mind.
Inclined mind.
Yeah.
Inclined mind for the practice.
Yeah. It's important, but not necessary. I mean, Buddhists who don't visit those 4 places can still practice and become enlightened. So, but if you visit the places, it will help you. Yeah, and if it is a ritual, and I don't know, make a pilgrim. If the pilgrimage is part of rituals, yes. I think we shouldn't be afraid of rituals. This is a very Western, Protestant, attitude. The moment you call ritual, you think it's meaningless. Not all rituals are not meaningless. There can be meaningful rituals.
So how can it be important to go to considered a holy place? That everything changes, right? Nothing is the same.
Yeah.
So you might as well go to a desert instead of going to Lumbini.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
I mean, these are given as practices to, again, create a pasana chitta. I mean, that's exactly the term found in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. Buddha has said that these 4 places are places that one can visit and create a pasana chitta.
Motivation. Eh?
Yeah, motivation.
You are
So if
motivated.
we can find motivation from another means, then go ahead.
And the other thing is that nothing is practiced for its own sake. As Ratavinita Sutta says, Sila is not for Sila's sake. It is for Samadhi.
Yeah.
And Samadhi is not for Samadhi's sake.
Yeah.
Finally, it is leading to Nibbana.
Yeah.
Nibbana is the final target. But even the very first step where we talk about rituals and all this, first step itself is leading to Nibbana. Then it's fine. It's very, encouraged by the Buddha. nothing should be done for its own sake, then it is meaningless. Even concentration. I mean, some people would like to have concentration in terms of meditation, but concentration should be, leading to Nibbana, and it should be used to locate suffering. If you concentrate your mind only, you will find where your suffering is hiding behind egocentric perspectives.
Any other thoughts and comments? Yes, sir.
Yes, according to the Amata Dwara Sutta, I think I remember
Which
the 6 ways to attain to Nibbana. The one way is
Vimuttayatana.
Vimuttayatana. The one way is reciting, recollecting
Yes,
Buddha's
yes.
all rituals.
Yeah, thank you, Bhante. I think I should have mentioned that here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
I think even Bhante Ji's, the Bhavana Vandana is actually based on that concept, I think, because Sajjahayana recitation of the Dhamma is one of the ways to have insights, have to, to
Vimukti, liberation.
Yeah, to
Vimuttayatana.
achieve it, yeah, to have some insight into the liberation, yeah.
Yes, another point just sprang in my mind. It's about meditation. As we all know, meditation is not just bounded in itself to, sitting meditation.
Yeah,
It is just one form of meditation.
Yeah, that's why, cultivation,
So the Sumangala Vilasana commented the Diganika, it is said nicely, Yasmin kane sallakanto tantan chitta bhavante to yarati. So wherever we are moved on to, so we should be aware of that. We should be mindful of that. That is the overall amplification of meditation. To me, in my opinion, meditation is very versatile,
Yeah.
So we can just learn some theories and some methodologies whilst we are on the sitting posture. Once we learned it, then we can apply the nuts and bolts we have learned through that theoretical process during our all actions and movements in everyday life. So devotional process and acts are very much
part of that whole process. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Totally influence of development of this spirit.
Even I think, maybe in the Western writings of meditation, they have undervalued the importance of anusati meditations, so because usually we tend to think that meditation is something that empty your mind. I don't know how they get this idea, but in anusati meditation, you fill your mind, not empty, but fill your mind with wholesome themes, right? So anusati meditation can be very, really useful, definitely, for our meditation practice.
According to sociological and anthropological views, no one can live without rituals in mundane world.
Well, exactly.
It's true.
That is there. I mean,
Yeah.
so my idea is with the sociological view, if someone applying rituals in their day-to-day life, that is one of very good techniques to manage their stress. For
There's an
example,
order to your life, right?
Yes.
There's an order.
So, for example, I mean, just think about if someone stolen something from you. So there are few ways that you can react to that. One way is searching yourself. You can find the person who took it. You wasted your time and energy. You try to do so many things. Another way, you can go to police and make a complaint, and then you can go to other steps also. Another way, you can go to Devalaya and you can do what the Gammiri Sambaranoa, Polgahanoa,
Sorceries,
and after that you can release, okay, I already hand it to the God, he will take care of it.
You relax.
Yes.
You let go.
Yeah.
No more stress.
Yes.
And particularly Kataragama is kind of developed city now.
Mhm.
All the facilities are there because of the Kataragama God. If he is not there, those facilities
Like desert.
will be there. Yes, like desert.
Any other, thoughts, any other, question?
And also, Bhante, I find obviously my practice as well, the more you practice the rituals like we talked about, you then apply it on the Vipassana level and you understand why something is done and what is achieved like through doing the practice.
Practice, yeah,
So you have more deeper understanding.
understand, yeah,
Like when you offer the flowers, right?
yeah, exactly.
We reflect on the fact that
Practice.
it has its nature
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
arise and-
definitely everything at the end has to be let go,
Of
Attam
course.
Mesa, right? So,
Yeah.
but we shouldn't be too hurried to throw
No,
away.
Slowly,
Yeah.
slowly.
Yeah.
So therefore, always we have to keep Alagattuma Sutta.
Yeah.
So we have to attach to the raft across the
Raft,
river.
yeah,
no?
yeah.
Until
Otherwise,
cross
we
it.
may not, we may sink in the water. So therefore, we have to be very careful.
Have to wait
And
out.
also, there's a connection with the gradual teachings of the Buddha, Dana Kata, Sila Kata, Sagga Kata,
Mm.
Kama Nangadina. So this is the way how we should address the audience.
Yeah.
There might be Nyaya Pada Parama, all these kind of
People, yeah.
peoples. So therefore, I mean, according to the psychological viewpoints, it says Ugritanyo maybe 2%. Ugritanyo. Vibritanyo maybe 9%. So
All others
all others are more than 50%. So therefore, the society where we are living, we have to address them because they are in our age level, not in the highest level.
But even in our own personal practice, I think, I think we should, incorporate in a more emotional aspect to our spiritual practice, our reverence and gratitude. Even actually, veneration of the Buddha has an element of gratitude. And, because, I mean, how grateful we should have to be, right? If there's no Buddha, if there's no other, enlightened monks who preserve this teaching for us, we are lost in the samsara, right? So when you understand the value of the Dhamma, value of the spiritual path, and we feel so grateful, right? And sometimes when we read, some of the suttas, and when you get, some, like in some understanding inside, you feel like going to the vihar and bow down in front of the Buddha, right? So I think we have to include that emotional part and also deeply the gratitude. So the most of our devotional practices are based on gratitude.
Okay.
Yeah, for the gift of the Dhamma, gift of the understanding, the possibility of vimutti, release that we got because of the Buddha.
Okay, one
Yeah.
last point.
Yeah.
The Animisa Lochana Puja, soon after the enlightenment of the Buddha was staring at the Bodhi tree.
Yeah.
It is perfectly
Mm.
another kind of ritual. Why the Buddha himself performed that kind of staring,
Yeah.
that kind of solemnized act towards
Yeah.
a non-sentient creature on earth.
Yeah,
The whole purpose lies due to great gratitude
yeah,
and deep reverence
yeah, exactly.
on the verge of his supreme enlightenment.
Yeah.
So,
Someone will say it's meaningless, right? what you give to the tree, right?
Yeah.
But it's an expression of one's gratitude. Yeah. Okay, Bhante, yeah. So we should conclude.
Up to them.
So we have Buddha Vandana at 6 o'clock.
Yes. 6.
Okay. So then we practice more to learn. Yeah. So we can take a 15 minutes break and wash ourselves and come for the Buddha Vandana.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your participation.